Everybody smile. We are live streaming and give us a countdown for the audio, Jordan, and we'll get going.
We've got about 15.
15. All right. Everybody get ready. We're going to count like the New Year's Eve ball.
9,
Ready?
8,
8,
7,
7. Come on.
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
3,
2,
1. Here we go. Everybody dance with me. Come on. Come on, Sassafras.
Welcome
Come on,
to
Frania.
Read My Lips Radio, a lively hour of unscripted conversations with savvy creatives. Producer and host, akaRadioRed, asks novelists, artists, photographers, designers, comedians, actors, musicians, composers, screenwriters, directors, and technology innovators about their creative passion, inspirational muses, and how they create. Ooh, how those lips can talk. Now, here's akaRadioRed.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me and the great music. I'm Radio Red here in the house. It's Monday. Where in the world else will I be? Well, it's March 17th. Happy Green Day. We're into the green. St. Patrick's Day, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever color the beer you're drinking is. We have one guest with beautiful green glasses, which is very much in the spirit of the moment there. I wrote on Facebook and on LinkedIn today that because I have a green screen, which is about a 10-foot screen behind me, if I wore green, I would disappear. So that's why we can't do green on the show today. But happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you who are celebrating. Now, to my guests, we haven't rehearsed this before I introduce all of you, and I have a special welcome for each of you. But I want you to make the shape of the letter L with whichever hand you are favoring there, Frania, and I'm going to get that right by the end of the hour. L and Sassafras and Marconi, we can't expect him to do this. On the count of 3, I want you to join me in saying hello, LLL, just like that. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Come on. L, L, L.
No.
I didn't get much. Go one more. She's going to be very insulted. It's a real person. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Hello. Come on. L,
No.
L,
No.
L.
No.
Kind of syncopated. Jordan, put them down for the best syncopation. Not in sync, but syncopation. That's good. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She's been a dear friend for years. She hasn't been feeling well, but she's pretty sure she can listen today. And if she's feeling well, she will, Frania, Sassafras, and Mark, she will write me a note at 6:01 p.m. tonight, and that's Eastern time, and she will tell me what you each said on the show today. Just a little book report. She's that loyal a friend. We met at a dance class years ago. I wasn't teaching. I was taking a lesson. And so I'm wishing a good get well and have a great day to LLL. So here we are. It is March 17th. It's the 76th day of 2025 Gregorian calendar. We gave up the Julian calendar decades ago, and Gregorian did a better job with leap year, so we go with his. 289 days remaining. It's the 11th Monday, and Frania, nobody cares about that except me. It's the 87th day of winter. There were 3 days left till spring. Woot, woot! Everybody be very happy. All the blossoms are out. The pear trees are blooming here. I'm in eastern Tennessee, and the bulbs are coming up out of the ground, and everything is starting to bloom a little bit early. It's going to be 32 degrees again tonight. Sorry, kids, go back under the ground and be safe. So I have a special greeting for each of you, and I'm going to read it now. And when I call your name, just wave. Okay, so here we go. I hope you like it. Welcome to Read My Lips, where akaRadioRed shines bright, bringing cool conversations with creatives for your delight. In her Scarlett Mike's live streaming glow, she opens the door for creative sparks to ignite and inspiration to soar. On the stage today, where tails wag and minds play, Radio Red leads the pack in a creative way. With her Scarlett Mike glowing, the energy runs free, unleashing bold stories. Come sit, stay, and see. Here we go. For fixing things, I'm ready for my 3 guests now. For fixing things young to crafting with grace, Mark Bello's love for language found its place. On the FM waves, his radio promos would play, but his true magic shines in a canine special way. Teaching dogs Melly and Marconi, letters, numbers, and more, Mark unlocks canine and human minds like never before. Mark, what'd you think?
Salante. Loved it.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Let's go to our next guest. From cats to canines and birds in flight, Frania, Shelley-Grielen, helps them all day and night. A trainer, an author, and a teacher too, with science and heart. She guides them through. An urban wildlife, Frania helps with care. For every creature, she is always there. Frania, what'd you think?
I love it.
I'm glad. You're welcome. And now let's go to our third guest. From high school training to many stories to be told, Sassafras Patterdale's journey is fearless and bold. Dogs gave them hope with a safe embrace, helping them write with wisdom and grace. Through books and screens, their voice now shines bright, championing pups and people with all their might. Sassafras, what'd you think?
Very nice.
I'm very glad. And let me close up here. So gather round, lend us your eye and your ear, or your eyes and your ears, as we dive into creativity with our vision clear. akaRadioRed's roundtable is set today. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So what'd y'all think? How'd I do?
Fantastic.
We did good? Okay. Mark, I've done this for you a couple times before. Now let's go around the table and let's get a little more of filling in the blanks, please. I just gave 6 lines to each of you, and it's hard to capture an entire lifetime, but let's see if we can take about 2 minutes extra on top of what I read, and just tell us a little more. Well, Mark, what have you been up to? I'm putting you and Marconi on full screen here, so why don't you tell us what you're doing?
Well, other than breaking an ankle and being sidelined, which has affected life greatly, I've been dealing with this little this boy, the 75 pounds of solid muscle, and he will test you at all points. And the last thing we taught him was factoids about New York City, Frania. So, oh yeah, he knows quite a bit of facts. Memories on dogs are a lot better than people think. And I've tapped into a way of communicating with them. And Marconi here can tell a lot.
You want to show us a little bit? Is Marconi ready to give us a quick test now before I go to the other guest, just at the start of the show?
Just see, come here, come on, up. Want to do sit and stay? Gotta go up. Come on, you want that? Come on. Marconi, you tell me, what's the address of the Empire State Building? How many? 3. Next digit. 5. And what's the last digit? 0. 350. What avenue? 5th Avenue. And can you tell me what side street? 30 what? 30 what? 33rd. And what's the other side street? 30 what? 34th. How's that?
Okay, I'll take it. Thank you very much, Marconi. It's lovely to see you. Last time you were a little bit shy, and it looks like you're more present and more interested in doing this today. So thank you, Mark. Lovely to see you again. Let's go to Frania. I'm putting you on speaker view. Would you fill in a little bit of the blanks? I know I missed a lot about your story, so tell us more, please, and welcome.
Okay, so I'm here in New York City, and I work doing applied animal behavior science with people, cats, and their dogs, and I do some birds and urban wildlife. And I have a book that just came out, Behavior Matters for Cats and Dogs, just won the Dog Writers Association of America Best Book of 2024 and the Dogwise, oh wait, I reversed that. It's the Best Behavior Book from Dog Writers of 2024, and then the Best Book from Dogwise of 2024. So that was really exciting to get that. And that book came from the work that I do with teaching people about animals and working with clients about animals, and also to address the tremendous surrender that we see with shelters and people after the pandemic giving up animals because behavior it matters. It's the reason why we do a lot of that surrender and why people have issues not keeping dogs in forever homes. So hoping that helps them to have that resource for people.
Thank you. Frania, question. What's the number one, if you can isolate one thing, the number one thing you find that either people ask you to teach them about their pets or you feel they need to learn? Is there one thing on top of everything?
I think the one thing that people need to learn is to be able to look at what's going on from the animal's point of view. These are different species with different sensory perceptions, with different ways they view the world. And a lot of this is about a disconnect, right? To how we process information and how they process information. The biggest thing that people ask about are the reasons that we see with surrender. With cats, it would be multi-cat aggression. We bring in a new cat. That wasn't their idea. They're very territorial. Unacceptable elimination. Dogs, you're going to have aggression, a lot of training issues, which again comes basically from we're bringing in an animal that sees the world in a different way. And, there's that jumping up, for instance, right? Really a great way a dog says hello. That's totally natural for dogs. Doesn't work so well for people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Thank you very much. I have two grandpuppies who are Labradoodles, I told you. And a neighbor came over the other day when my family was visiting, not this weekend, the weekend before. And the two of them just were all over him. Poor Don. And he's being attacked by these two very sweet dogs. They're not that big. They're not that small. And we just had to say, okay, sit, settle. That's fine. That's why they were so excited to see him. Almost the same greeting they give when they come to my house when they haven't seen me for 4 to 6 weeks, but it was a little different. Stranger, let's go sniff him. Let's go jump on him. Let's go tell him how much we're happy to see him. And we had to rescue him. So, they were still going through the greeting for a couple of minutes. And we basically, took Don out of the room and said, bye-bye, we're going to move him somewhere else. So it would be lovely to quiet that. But talking about what you said, Frania, I'm thinking we talk about being mindful of other people's lifestyles and of their needs and of their backgrounds and of their traumas or whatever it is. And we say, walk a mile in their shoes. Well, you could say, walk a couple feet in their paws. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Sassafras, we're so happy to have you here too. And I have to do a shout out. Who recommended you to me? Was it Pilly Bianchi? Sassafras?
It was,
and
yeah.
Same thing with you, Frania? Was it Pilly?
Yeah.
Yes, Pilly Bianchi's been on several times, and Alexis Devine, and they're both traveling today, so they were unable. So I'm delighted to meet both of you. Sassafras, putting you on speaker view. Tell us a little more about yourself, please. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I am an author. I'm a dog trainer. I'm an author of 12 books. I write about all kinds of things, fiction, nonfiction. Probably most relevant today is my dog work, and like I said, I'm an author, I'm a full-time freelance writer, and do a lot of multimedia dog training, specifically focused on enrichment and sports, specifically focused heavily on trick dog.
Tell me a little bit more about the dog training. What do you train for? What do you do? What kinds of dogs? Where? Who are your clients? Give us a little more.
Sure. Yeah. So I work with people all over the world. I have worked with hundreds of folks from around the world, specifically around trick dog as a sport. My oldest dog has been the #1 trick Newfoundland in the AKC National Trick Dog Competition 3 times. I'm the author of a couple of different trick dog training books, and I do a lot of different kinds of multimedia education, social media, video classes, and then writing a lot about dog training for places like the American Kennel Club, the New York Times, Wired, stuff like that.
Very exciting. Frania and I were talking before we went live, about all of those ribbons behind you. Can you just give us a little tour, please, Sassafras? What are they from?
Sure. There are a lot of ribbons behind me. The majority of them are from Trick Dog, like I mentioned. My 8-year-old Newfoundland Sirius. She was the first grand champion first Newfoundland to become a grand champion trick dog. She's been #1 Newfoundland in the national AKC competition for trick dog 3 times. She has basically every trick dog title. I also have an 11-month-old puppy. Some of these are also hers. There's also trick dog ribbons are hers. There's also rally obedience titles for both of them, or ribbons for both of them rather. Scent dog or scent work ribbons for both of them. That's.
Thank you. And how do we define a trick dog? What does that mean exactly? What skills are involved, or what is a trick?
Yeah, so trick dog is a competitive sport similar to any other dog sport like obedience, rally, agility. In trick dog, dogs are performing a wide variety of tricks beginning at the novice level all the way up through elite performer, if we're talking the American Kennel Club, where dogs are performing a series of tricks at that specific skill level all the way up through. At elite performer, they're performing a routine, telling a scripted story with their handler, utilizing tricks.
It's not a good idea.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Would we consider what Mark does with Marconi are those tricks, or is that the eidetic memory and the ability to translate words into letters into a numeric coding system? Would that be a trick, or is that not exactly what you're talking about, Sassafras?
It could be a trick. It could be a trick. Yeah. Depends on how you want to define it, but you could put it categorically there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all for the extra introductions. I want to go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you to send me a quote from a fictional character in a fictional movie or a TV show or a song lyric. I've done a little research on them, and I'll read a little bit, and then I'll ask you to tell us what the quote has to do with your own creativity, personal, professional. So Mark has sent us a quote from Don Corleone, played by Marlon Brando. We're talking about the original Godfather, 1972 epic crime film directed by the one and only Francis Ford Coppola, who wrote the screenplay, co-wrote it with Mario Puzo, and it was based on Mario's 1969 novel, all-star cast. Would you believe Al Pacino was in that movie, and Robert Duvall, and Diane Keaton, my goodness, 1972. I don't know if any of you were even born then. Let's just leave that one on the table. Okay, so I was, though. Okay, so the quote Mark has picked is, "I refuse to be a fool, dancing on a string held by all those big shots. That's my life. I don't apologize for that." I don't do a good Marlon Brando. Mark, you want to tell me what this means to you, please? The Godfather. Okay.
The logo.
Okay, good. Talk into your speaker so we can hear you. That's it. Go ahead.
This was a scene. They were in the garden behind the house, and it was Vito Corleone and his son Michael. And Vito was retired, and Michael was trying to reassure him that he could handle the family business. And there's a parallel here. The parallel is being treated like a fool with these strings, okay? There's a parallel with the canine cognitive community, okay, that refuses to acknowledge what we did with Melly. And unfortunately, Melly's deceased.
Mm-hmm.
We dealt with a lot of PhDs. We dealt with a lot of psychologists. There's a history that's going on here. I have notes here. Forgive me. Anyway, everything was documented. I kept all the conversations, all the emails. I even recorded telephone conversations. Universities, PhDs, PhD candidates, their staff, and the bottom line, science writers and what have you. Out of all the years, 4.5 years, I was promoting Melly's careers. Guess how many questions I was asked about Melly the Mad Dog?
How many?
0.
Mm-hmm.
Across the board. So how do you view that? If I had to say in the last 10 years, what's the major accomplishments that came out of the canine cognitive academic community? Name one. And I have a dog here. This dog memorized this alphabet at 7 months old in a numerical code. And their refusal to even ask a question about that. I thought that was rather, well, I've given many shows with Melly and started in with him. And people are astonished that there's not even the slightest bit of interest. So how do we handle that? How do you get past that juggernaut of a barrier? Well, we've decided that the only way to do this, to get past that, is to set up the Marconi Challenge. And the way it works is $10,000 to anybody that can prove that this is a dog trick and not canine cognitive ability. $10,000, get yourself, we don't care if it's 1, 10, or 110 cameras. Set them up at all different angles. Photograph me asking this dog 10 sophisticated questions. All right. If you're saying it's a dog trick, that means this dog is being signaled or cued 10 times. Right or wrong. Okay.
Mark, is this, I didn't know this from you, but I haven't seen this in any of your communications before. Is this a world debut of the challenge? Are you making an announcement here?
Yes, we are. This is on your show, and we will come to your studio and do it live.
Well, there's not enough room in my house for those many cameras and those many people. I broadcast from home. Thank you very much, Mark. That's very, very interesting. Let me go to the quote next from Frania. Thank you, Mark. Frania has picked a quote from Scarlett O'Hara, played by Vivian Lee. The movie, of course, another epic from 1939. We're going way back in time. Gone with the Wind, epic historical romance film. This was the last line spoken by Scarlett O'Hara. The movie was an adaptation from Margaret Mitchell's 1936 novel. Had a lot of trouble in the production. Directors left and writers left, and it was too long. However, Gone with the Wind became the highest earning film made up to that point and held the record for more than 25 years. And adjusted for inflation today, Frania, it's still the highest grossing film in history, considered one of the greatest films of all time. And in 1989, it was one of the first 25 films selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry. Here is the line. After I won't try to do it with a Scarlett O'Hara accent, although I'm living in Tennessee, so I probably could. I won't try. After all, tomorrow is another day. Frania, do you want to do the Scarlett O'Hara accent for me, please, and do justice?
Oh, I don't know if I can, but being a New Yorker, but I will say that it's so funny because I wasn't even like necessarily relating it to something that I did. The reason that I thought about that quote is it's so incongruous. It doesn't work with the movie in my mind at all. It's just like all these that leaves her, the war, everything, all these terrible things have happened, and she just holds up her tear-stained face and says, I'll figure this out tomorrow, because after all, tomorrow is another day. And it's that, the way she says it, and then the music swells. P.S. By the way, Gone with the Wind, in my opinion as well, I think was one of the best movie adaptations. It's very difficult when you read a great book and then you watch the film and it just doesn't jive. But that was a great adaptation, except for that line, which makes totally no sense. However, one of the beautiful things about that is its incongruity. I was thinking when you were asking about relating it to the work that you do, I think when it comes to cats, dogs, animals are very congruent. That is why we can rely so much on body language, because we really can see what is going on with them. They communicate very clearly to each other and to us if we can be expert in our observations and watch them. So, a lot of this agenda that people may think they have when the cat doesn't use the litter box or the dog goes behind the couch and mostly they're going behind the couch because you probably yelled at them for going in front of you because you didn't take them out, kind of thing. But the animal itself doesn't hold anything in the past. I mean, they have history, yes, but most of the time there's this congruence of what's going on. So there's always that going forward with them. So I could kind of link it with that, but I just love that quote because it's so nonsensical in so many ways, but it's not when you start thinking about it.
It's not at all. That's a quote for resilience. It's a quote for hope. It's a quote for, think of a dog saying, well, Bob yelled at me because I didn't do this or I didn't do that, but tomorrow's a better day. Maybe Bob will be in a better mood. Right?
And absolutely. And I think one of the things that when we look at our domesticated species, and not all species were easily domesticated, if you go back, you're talking really only about 14 that in the first wave of domestication. One of the things that was very, very important was to find species that were going to be very forgiving of men and women, right? So horses and dogs and even our cats. They really let things go. They don't hold on and they don't hold grudges. And they really just, it's really about being in that moment and about having that resilience, right?
Mindfulness, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Canine and feline mindfulness.
Absolutely.
Is not, I had never thought of saying that, but maybe it is forgive and forget, although sometimes things that they don't forget. And that's why,
Well, that be necessary too, right? You have to, as an animal, an organism, you have to protect yourself. So you have to know where there's real danger. So yes. You safeguard. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Interesting quote. I'm always happy to see quotes from the classics, the iconic movies. So thank you. Sassafras has sent a quote from my goodness, it's from a song from last year, 2024. We're leaving behind the movie from 72 and 39, and we're moving to 2024. And the quote is from a song by Jelly Roll, from the song Smile So Much. and the album Beautifully Broken. And I'll give you a little background. I had to look this up, Sassafras. Jason Bradley DeFord, professionally known as Jelly Roll, is the stage name of Jason DeFord, a Nashville-born singer, rapper, songwriter who blends country, hip hop, and rock. Started his career in 2003, rose to fame in 2022 with the single "Son of a Sinner," which won 3 CMT Music Awards in 2023. Jelly Roll embraces an underdog persona. Here's the line. You're going to tell us what it has to do with your creativity. Even when it's hard, even when it feels like it's fallen apart, if you'd seen all the years, all the tears I've cried, you would know why I smile so much. Sassafras, interesting line. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I've been working professionally as a writer for almost 20 years, and a lot of what the work that I've done both in and outside of the dog world and connected to arts and culture is looking at challenging moments and looking at ways that there are finding joy, the ability to find joy in those moments. And so I was going for a contemporary quote that I thought sort of that, which is how I ended up there.
Very interesting. Tell me about Jelly Roll. Are you a fan? Are you very familiar with his music? I'm not. So I've seen him on some of the award shows, but I'm not familiar with his music. Yeah. What about the underdog persona? Does this resonate with dogs and cats too? With trick dogs?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I have had multiple careers. One of the careers that I spent a very long time doing was working with homeless youth in New York. And so I'm always a fan of anybody who is platforming marginalized communities. And I think he's done a fantastic job in his work, both as an advocate and as an artist. And so, yeah, I've followed his career for a while.
And I know you were running a shelter or for LBGTQ plus. You were running a nonprofit. Can you just give us a little background on that, please?
Yeah, before I was writing full time, but also had a full time day job, and I was a program director for a large drop-in program for LGBTQ homeless youth in New York City, and I also have done a lot of national advocacy and education work around LGBTQ youth homelessness.
Do animals have any play in any part in that dealing with homelessness or dealing with people in need like that? Do you see an intersection of dog training and the companionship of pets?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we also, certainly there is on a practical level for more services in communities across the country that are meeting needs of folks who are experiencing housing instability, often whom have pets. There's a limited number of programs, both in terms of shelters as well as direct provision, things like food pantries, things like that are providing support in terms of pet food, low-cost veterinary, et cetera, to folks who are experiencing homelessness. So there's always intersections. If we're caring about animals, we need to also be caring about people.
Thank you. That's the link I was looking for. Thank you very much. Thank you all for the quotes. I appreciate those. I always learn from the quotes. There are iconic lines from both The Godfather and from Gone with the Wind, and neither of you picked those iconic lines, and I appreciate that because it's always, the other movie that a lot of people quote, of course, is The Wizard of Oz, right? I'm afraid we're not in Kansas anymore, right, Toto? And there's a dog right in the starring in the movie. So there you go. Okay, let's go to our creativity statements. I'm going to pick one from each of you to start. Let's see how much time we have. And I have some interesting on this date in history at the end I want to save time for. So Mark, I'm going to go completely away from the dog experience and the training. I'm going to your statement number 3, which I thought was interesting. Mark says, how I first got involved with radio, you have an FM career, came about when I purchased a reel-to-reel recording machine, took lessons to learn how to use it, and less than 2 weeks later, composed a song and won a songwriting contest. Not bad for my first attempt. And you also did radio promos. Mark, give us a little insight into that part of your life, pre-Melly and pre-Marconi. Go ahead.
Pre by quite a few years, I might add. That was a very creative period. I mean, I was very hooked into guitar and music, and getting the capability to record and multi-track, opens up a whole another world. Hanging out at the music stores with some famous musicians after a while. And starting to write and then composing and then performing. I had to hire a singer because my voice is not good enough to make it onto radio, but we did so. And yeah, the first experience, within 2 weeks, we won a songwriting contest. And then from there, the disc jockey was really interested in my work, and we started doing promos and ads, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And you've been in radio, so it's a lot of work also. I mean, there was a lot of 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning nights trying to finish up things. But we enjoyed it. It was a different phase of life.
Very cool. I started out in radio on WGBB AM 1240. Frania, you might know this. It was the oldest AM station in New York. It's based way out on Eastern Long Island, not that far out. And their broadcast studio was in a house off of a road way. It was like an hour-long trip. I was living in Great Neck at the time, and it was quite an interesting trip. And we really had an engineer who ran everything, and he had the carts, the tapes that he put in for the promos and everything. And Mark, they asked me, I was doing a show called WGBB Tonight, and I turned it into Up Close and Personal. I was speaking with a lot of authors. I was interviewing authors, and I did mostly interviews at the time. And they asked me to write PSAs for things that were going on at the station and for some of their advertisers. So I was writing brief PSAs, and that was a lot of it. It's what was it? Service announcements, public service announcements. And it was really, really fun. Missed those letters. Thank you very much. And then they moved to Babylon. That was in Babylon. They moved to Merrick, Long Island. Franny, are you connecting with any of this? Down on Meadowbrook Parkway South?
You're talking about Long Island, right?
Long Island, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with some of those areas, but and I'm not really that familiar with, like, when you start to get into like America. I know like the shores and the
South
more
Shore, yeah,
yeah,
near the South Shore, and they moved to a studio with glass tiles and a window where the engineer was behind the window, and that was a lot of fun. I was the first voice to broadcast after they moved. It was almost a hurricane strength storm. I want to say a tornado, and a friend drove me. The highway had 3-inch puddles on it, and we went there, and almost nothing was set up, and I still did the show. I never went back and listened to it, but I bought a briefcase full of horoscopes from Newsday from that day, just to be able to have stuff to fill. They didn't have the music, they didn't have the intros, and it was a Monday night show, and I was the first one on the air when they moved from Babylon to Merrick. So I have very interesting memories, not necessarily fond, but it got better after that. Thank you very much. Frania, I'm looking at your creativity statement number 2 here. You packed a lot into it, and I want to talk about when and where. So let me read the statement, then I'll ask you a question. You say, I create videos, webinars, seminars, training classes, behavior modification, interventions, posts, social media content, articles, and books about animal behavior. So the way we usually approach this, Frania, is I say, how do you create? When do you create? Do you write at night? Do you write in the morning? Do you get inspiration for whatever for your books, your videos, when you see people with dogs on the street, or when you read about dogs and cats in the news? What are the influences? What are your muses, Franny, other than that it's your business? What motivates you to create a new video or write a new book? And Sassafras, I'll be saying something similar to that to you. We're looking for the how of the creativity, not just the what, but the how. What inspires you? Frania?
And I think when we were going back and forth on this, the one thing I said is, when you're dealing with research and science, you really want to be careful not to get too creative.
Yes.
Because this is one of the real dangers in this world, is anthropomorphizing, giving human characteristics to animals. So when I talked about the unacceptable elimination or inappropriate elimination, you'll hear a lot of people will say, well, they're being vengeful, or they're angry, or they're spiteful. And it's not that at all. It's really that it could be any number of things, which you didn't take them out, or you didn't change the litter, or they're sick. Or another thought that I had, and this was my own theory, or not necessarily, and it's based in science, is that there are all kinds of pheromones and chemical signals that are in urine and feces that mean way different things. That's dogs need to sniff, and they're sniffing for a reason, to read the P-mail kind of thing. So I thought, you know what, if this is going on, this is an SOS. This is actually somebody saying, I'm really upset about something, more so with cats than with dogs when you see that. And so for me, the fascination is really, I'm going to use that word instead of, or it's linked with creativity, comes from really trying to figure out what is being communicated by these species that are different than us in the way that they're experiencing the world. We're visual. We see the world through our own eyes. And that's our number one sense. But for a dog, it's olfaction. For a cat, it's hearing and then sense. So birds, right? I mean, they've got vision. They can see ultraviolet. So when you deal with all these different worlds, how to put that together so we can even relate to it. And so I really wanted to learn about this in a very deep way. And that's why I went back to graduate school to figure that stuff out, not just what I think, not that you couldn't observe, because observation is the first process in the scientific experiment. You have to look, and you really have to look objectively. So I think for myself, it was really about that. I can walk down the street and I can see people, doing things that they shouldn't do, not letting the dog sniff, pulling them along, not because they're on their phone or they think it's disgusting that the dog wants to sniff another dog's butt, which has nothing to do with anything except just who are you kind of a thing. So I don't know if I'm answering that, but I'm trying to come to what would inspire me would be the wonder of what is going on with these animals and how to decipher it and how to then make it applicable so that those would other people, including myself, could be able to more fully understand and then live with our animals in a better way.
Thank you. And I'm going to put a creativity frame around everything to be able to say, I want to create a video. I want to create a webinar and a seminar. I want to post social media content. I want to write articles and books. You had to have the mindset that I am a person who can create this content.
Yes.
That to me that's your creativity. Not everybody would say, oh, well, I'm working with dogs and cats and birds, and I think I'll write an article and a book. Well, hello, you have to have an inspiration and a sense that you can write it or that you can figure out how to write it and make it something that will be informative, inspirational, that people will want to read. And in intervention, that sounds very creative to me. That's a way to get around a blockage or a stop or a barrier or something like that. So I would say you are super creative because you created a webinar. Not everybody would have done that, Frania. You created videos. That's not easy to do. So I'm saying that there's a wrapper of creativity by the fact to me that you decided to do all of this. That's your creativity. Does that help?
That definitely helps. And I would say I think the most creative aspect of this comes really from the communication with the humans. How can I best communicate it to you so that
there you go.
It's understandable, so that it's something that you can apply yourself? Because I don't get to do the applying, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. That's what I was looking for. So there is all the science and all of the things that you talked about are great, but you had the creativity to say, I think I'll do this many things to communicate my knowledge to that many people in the way that I think they will want to hear and that might help them. That's your creativity. Okay? There you go. Thank you very much for working with me on that. It's a concept a lot of people don't get. And I just attended the National Publicity Summit. I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I booked 38 people last Tuesday night to fill the next couple months of shows. And I meet a lot of professionals in all walks of life, and they come on the show and they say, Red, nobody has ever told me I was creative. I said, but you have a business, you have a career, you have an office, you wrote a book, you sang a song, you cook, you dress, you're creating your life. And so it's breaking news for a lot of people. So there we go. Thank you. Sassafras, I'm looking at your statement number 1. I like this, and I'm going to read a tiny bit of number 3 to go with it. So you say, creativity is core to who I am as a person. Intriguing. I believe everyone has a story to tell. My stories, both fiction and nonfiction, have been central to how I've lived my life since I was a teenager. I believe stories shape, connect, and change us, whether I'm helping someone design a high-level trick dog routine with their competition dog or connecting with the reader around the most difficult and painful thing they've survived. The through line in my work has been creativity. So this is an observation. So what I want to know, Sassafras, is what in particular inspired you to write The Lost Boy, B-O-I? I read about that. What is that book about? How did you write 12 books and do everything else that you do and design tricks? Let's go with the trick design. One day you woke up and you said, I think I'm going to design tricks for dogs and they're going to win competitions. What was the muse, Sassafras? What was the inspiration that said, I can do this and I can help dogs win prizes and all these thousands of ribbons behind me? So tell us a little bit about that. That's what I want to know. Okay.
Sure. I think I'm somebody who finds inspiration kind of every day, everywhere. If I could completely not sleep, I could probably do more. But I have so many ideas in my head all the time of things I want to create. And I feel very fortunate. I've had so many opportunities to create them. I try to find interesting moments in just about anything. I can probably find something in that I want to work on. So that's kind of the baseline of how I structure things and how I approach things. You mentioned Lost Boy. Lost Boy is a novel that was published in 2015. The film rights were optioned a year and a half ago. So it's going to be a movie, which is very exciting someday. But it's a retelling, queer punk retelling of Peter Pan, and is probably the fiction work I'm best known for, and jump-started a lot of my career, and was very fortunate to have amazing experiences getting to tour with that book and meet readers, and it was a lot of fun.
Tell me a little bit more. 12 books. Would you wake up one day and say, I'm going to write another 11 books, I'm going to write another 10 books, I'm going to write another 5 books? What's in your mind? Do you want to write a lot, or do these just, you wake up one day and say, oh, I've got another book idea, and you write? How long does it take you to write these books?
Completely depends on what book it is. So I'm a full-time freelance writer. Freelance writing is what predominantly, along with multimedia dog education, is what feeds my dogs, what pays my mortgage. So I write all day, every day. Books are certainly a passion of mine, and I have, as you mentioned, written a number of them in a variety of genres: fiction, nonfiction, books for adults, books for young readers. And my passion behind writing books and any of the writing that I'm doing really is about the ability to connect with people, regardless of what the theme I'm writing on is, and helping people to understand, when it's dog writing, understand their dogs better, provide more enriching, more engaging lives for their dogs, and build stronger bonds there. So that's certainly on the dog side of it. And yeah, connection with readers is the number one goal for me in any of the work that I'm doing, whether it be, video content or magazine articles or books. But yeah, I hope to write another 12.
Okay, well, maybe you will. I have another statement here I want to add to that, and then you've alluded to it in terms of connectivity. You say creativity is about community building. I see living a creative life as centering the connections I'm able to make with other writers as well as my readers. What's that thought that goes into writing a book and saying, I think there's a population who would benefit from this, who would enjoy this, who they might cry, they might laugh, but I'm connecting people. That's what I want to know, is this a sense of community building. How important is that to you, and how does that fuel your creativity? Would you look at the clock one day? I'm going to go back on screen here. Would you look at the clock one day and say, oh, I haven't written a book in 6 months. I bet people want another book. I think I'll wake up and write a book tomorrow. I'm not making fun. I'm appreciating this. But in terms of community building, do you feel that there's a service component, that I am part of building this community and they're eager for my next contribution? Tell me a little bit more about that, Sassafras.
Yeah, absolutely. I laugh because, yes, I wish it would. I wish that the timing worked in that way. I will never complain. I'm very fortunate. I'm truly able to do what I love most every single day. And I pinch myself every day that this is my job and my work. Unfortunately, books pay the least well of all the writing that I do. And so they are sometimes what go to the back burner when it comes to writing. So yes, I would love to wake up tomorrow and write a book. That is probably not on my to-do list, though I wish it was. And many of my readers also wish it was. But yeah, I think community is incredibly important, and it's incredibly important for all of us. Certainly in this challenging cultural political moment, I think the ability to connect with people who are different from us could not be more important. And that's something that I know that my work has had the ability to do and help people to feel seen and understood. And it's something that I never take for granted with my work.
Thank you. Frania, how do you promote your books, your webinars, and everything? Is it done on the web? Is it through your social media posts? How do you tell people where to find you?
I think I do a lot of stuff with social media. I mean, I
Mhm.
think we all do. It's kind of crowded, right? Because there's a lot of people out there. There was a time, you talk about taking it back years ago, where you had like four television stations and maybe like there was HBO or something like that. And now everybody's got content. So for a while it was great because you had more choices, and now it's overwhelming.
Yep.
So I certainly am there letting people know about stuff. I'm on all of them, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. I will even say that when I taught for 5 years full time. I'm also a licensed pet care technician teacher. I taught at a vocational school for individuals with disabilities, and my program was the pet care technician program. And so there was a lot of applied with that, but I had students for 5 hours a day in a classroom, and I needed to show them things. I mean, I would bring a cat and a dog into class, but you couldn't bring those animals every day. I mean, you could, but I didn't for different reasons. And I made videos. I made how to pick up a cat. Cats were like the stepchild of the companion animal world. There was a lot of stuff on dogs that I could show videos of, and so I made videos about cats.
See, that's your creativity, Frania. Not everybody would have done that. Continue. Go ahead.
All right. My how to pick up a cat, how to pet a cat. I got close to 200,000 views on YouTube. Now I'm going back, okay, maybe probably 2012 or something like this.
Oh my.
But how to pet a dog, of course, that got less than 10 because everybody thought that they knew how to pet the dog. Dogs might not agree, but anyway, so I would sit there and I would make this content to be able to work for work. And you would get a lot of views with it, not the same anymore. I would also say, though, let me just say that when it comes to people finding my work or having this, people are self-motivated. There's so much information that's out there that people will look for it. So if you are there and you've got good information, hopefully it's credible and hopefully it's good information, people can find it. I'm here to fulfill a need for people, right? It's something that you're looking for. How do I get my cat or my dog to do this thing? Hopefully it's also because they're fascinated too about the animal.
Mhm.
But a lot of it is that the person's looking for you.
Thank you very much. Sassafras, do you use a lot of social as well?
Yeah, I do. I think that it's a fantastic way to connect with people, and I'm much less interested in numbers of views. I've been very fortunate in my social media, that it has been very successful and a part of my business. But I think the thing that I love most about it and have always loved most about it is the ability that it gives for me to be able to connect with folks around the world who are looking for that connection, who are looking for a shared experience, regardless of what part of my work it is. And it's just been a fantastic ability to make connections from folks who might otherwise feel disconnected and disenfranchised.
Thank you. Mark, do you use social media a lot to talk about Marconi?
Just started with Marconi. I kept them close to the vest because of what happened with Melly and the interactions I got there. By the way, this is brand new as of today. If anybody wants to get involved with the
Okay. Marconi, the math dog at Gmail. I'm going to go to some closing quotes, and I have we have a few more minutes. Mark, maybe we'll have time for one more thing from Marconi, but I want to read some quotes too. You've probably heard these before. These are quotes I've collected over the years. I think you'll appreciate these. This is from Rapunzel, voiced by Mandy Moore in the 2010 3D computer animated musical adventure fantasy comedy film. Is that a lot of genres strung together? And Sassafras is not a single hyphen in those. They're all just standalone. And the movie was, of course, Tangled, and Mandy Moore did the voice. And here's the line that I captured. Venture outside your comfort zone. The rewards are worth it. Perhaps, maybe. I think we can all relate to that. Here's another one from the Rolling Stones, 1969. You'll know this. You can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you'll get what you need. Isn't it the truth? Talking about creativity. And here's one from Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, played by Billy Burke in the 1939 fantasy film, The Wizard of Oz, the real one. You had the power all along, my dear. And I think that's where the roots of all of our creativity comes from. We had that power. You got to figure it out and do something with it and be proud of it. That's what I think. So let me read some interesting factoids for you. You might not know all of these. One or two of you might recognize these. In 1955, on this day in history, March 17th, music history, Sarah Vaughan recorded the song Whatever Lola Wants. Does anybody remember that? Whatever Lola Wants. I wrote a musical, not a musical, a romantic comedy play that I produced in my TV studio on Long Island, Frania, and it was called Whatever Lola. About three friends, and one of them was turning 55. I call it the age of the Long Island Expressway speed limit, and they were trying to get her to go on a dating app. It was a really cute play. On this day in 1958, the Champs, Tequila, if anybody remembers that song, hit number one. It was the most popular saxophone instrumental song ever up to that point. Same day, the Coasters recorded Yakety Yak, Don't Talk Back. I'm sure some of you Sassafras may not know any of this. In 1958, the same day, the first ever greatest hits compilation album was released, and surprise and shock, Frania might know this person, and Mark, Johnny Mathis had the first ever greatest hits compilation album. It stayed on the Billboard Album 200 chart for 9 years until Pink Floyd kicked it out with Dark Side of the Moon. Jimi Hendrix in 1967 released Purple Haze in the UK. In 1968, the Bee Gees appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, their first appearance on American TV. And let's do one more here. On St. Patrick's Day in 2020, it was in COVID, and Dropkick Murphys live streamed a free concert from an empty place in Boston. Other acts started using live streaming to perform for their fans also during the shutdown. And in 2023, Taylor Swift launched her 3-hour, 10-act Eras tour in Arizona. There you go. Now, celebrities. John Sebastian. Anybody remember the Loving Spoonful? Frania, remember them? And yeah, what a day for a daydream. I try not to sing. John Sebastian was the co-founder of Loving Spoonful. He's 81 today. Patty Boyd. She married not only George Harrison, she married Eric Clapton. What a gal. She is 81. She's an English model and photographer and actress. Kurt Russell. You all know Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. Kurt Russell was a child star. He's 74 today. Rob Lowe. Everybody knows Rob Lowe from the Hollywood Brat Pack and all kinds of movies. He's 61. What? Mia Hamm, the soccer player, U.S. forward in the women's soccer team, Olympic gold medal. She's 53. Hozier, the Irish blues and vocalist known for Take Me to the Church, 34 today. And Katie Ledecky, the freestyle swimmer who won an 800-meter gold at the 2012 London Olympics, broke the U.S. record. She's 28 today. Nat King Cole was born this day in 1919. And here, this is for all of you. On YouTube today, we have a birthday for Zeph Plays, Zephplayz, one word. He is 27. Why am I telling you this? Because he has 2.1 million subscribers, Frania and Sassafras and Mark. He's a YouTube gamer who focuses on Minecraft and Roblox. We also have on YouTube Jay Swingler, 30 years old. He creates videos with weird and random content. He put on a post on Facebook, said, who wants to make insane videos with me? And his friend said, that sounds sick, I'll do it. He started on YouTube when he was 12, and he has 6 million subscribers. Then on TikTok, we're celebrating Whispering Willow ASMR. She's 27. She has 100 million likes and 2.4 million followers. And you all know what ASMR is, correct? Yes? That's you make noise into the microphone, Mark, and people listen. Connor Rice is 28, 1.4 million followers, and has one video with 9 million views. And then we have Pat D. Lucky is 34, and he's a comedian on Instagram. He only has 2.4 million views. Today's St. Patrick's Day, almost done. Corned beef and cabbage day. It's Act Happy Day and Welderly Day. I'll leave that one alone. It's American Chocolate Week. Yes. It's National Bubble Week, as in blowing bubbles. It's International Teach Music Week. It's National Fragrance Week. I like my perfume. And it's National Noodle Month. Peanuts, celery, exotic winter fruits, leeks, green onions, frozen food, berries, cherries, caffeine awareness. And it's March Madness and Umbrella Month and Read an Ebook Month. Okay, stick around, everybody. We're going to end on time, and I'm going to play the music in a minute, but I want to do my closing here. How much time do I have? Jordan, I've got 2 minutes. Okay, here we go. I I had at the end of my shows in 2014, I had something called the Top 10 Tips for Women. It was funny. And the first one, I found it and I use it on the show today. Hope nobody's offended. Aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. Okay. I brought that one along from 2014. And that was way before the movie. So here we go. Life is short. Break the rules. Yep. Forgive quickly. I don't forgive as quickly as a dog does, but what can I say? Kiss slowly. Definitely. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Everybody join me in a laugh. Come on. 1, 2, 3. This is not a very noisy crowd. I got some grimaces there. Okay. Never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. Sing like nobody's listening. Love like you've never been hurt. We all have. Let your heart grow back and regenerate and love again. Money talks. Chocolate sings, la. And last but not least, thank you for turning me on. Radio Red saying thank you so much to my wonderful guest today, Mark Bello and Marconi. I'm always absolutely delighted to have you on the show. And Frania, I learned to say your name. Thank you so much. And Sassafras, it was such a pleasure. And let me put on the closing music here. I'm already starting it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let me start the music. And why is it not playing? Just give me a second. Oh, because I don't have the volume on. Let's do this. Here we go.
Conversations with smart,
We're going to start
savvy,
all over
creative
again.
people. On Read My
Here we
Lips
go.
Radio, producer and host, aka Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers
There's
what
that sun.
makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire
Everybody
the
dance
rest
with
of
me.
us
Come
to
on.
think out
Dance
of
a
the
little.
box.
Sassafras,
Enjoy,
let's see you move.
AKA
Come on.
Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
There we go. Okay. Say goodbye to social.